Thank you for joining us. Welcome to LumioseStation.
What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Pokemon DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral. In the last episode we covered the one, the only Typhlosion, the fire type starter from the Johto region, and I gave you guys a choice which Pokemon from the bird trio did you want to see this week, either Articuno, Zapdos or Moltres, and the Pokemon that came out top in the end was Articuno. A good few of you want to know how to use Articuno, so that's who we're going to be covering. Now next week, we haven't got a vote for next week, but next week is going to be the first of a few special episodes, I guess you can call them. Every now and again we'll have them, and these are going to be mascot episodes, and I'll be joined by another conductor from LumioseStation, and together we will cover their mascot Pokemon. So that sounds pretty good, doesn't it guys? You know, I'm going to wait until the end of this episode to reveal who is going to be on next week's episode, so wait up until then. But down below, what I want you to do is, I want you to sort of request, I guess, what mascots, what conductors do you want to see join me every now and again. You know, do you want to see Nappy with Gengar or Mega Gengar? Do you want to see, I don't know, anyone else in challenge? Do you want to see Game Boy Luke with Rotom? Anything, you know, whatever, you know, just let me know down below. Don't necessarily have to be mascot Pokemon, you know, because obviously some mascots I have covered already, so you can always suggest other Pokemon that PokeTubers are well known for, so let me know. But for now, let's get on and start covering the legendary bird Pokemon, Articuno. So Articuno, it's an ice flying type, as I'm sure you all know, and it is the freeze Pokemon, coming in number 144 in the National Pokedex, the first of the bird trio in sort of Pokedex order, because Articuno, Zapdos and Moltres, nice and French. So dimensions, or you know, I guess you could say height. It's either height or wingspan. It's always a bit iffy with bird Pokemon. It's 5 foot 7 inches or 1.7 meters. It could be either or, who knows. And it weighs 122.1 pounds or 55.4 kilograms. Egg group and breeding wise, it's in the undiscovered egg group, meaning it can breed because obviously it's a legendary, and is genderless, so it's not got gender. That's what it means. I'm sure you guys knew that. Evolution wise, because it's a legendary, it doesn't evolve from or into anything. So that's that, it's just Articuno. And we get on to sort of the more interesting stuff. Base stat wise, let's have a look at Articuno's base stats. Health points are 90, attack is 85, defense is 100, special attack is 95, special defense is 125, and the speed is 85. So as you can see, its two highest stats are defense and special defense. So if anything, Articuno is going to be used in some sort of role where it's defensive, for example. Its sort of next highest one is special attack there at 95, then down to speed and attack at 85. So it is going to be mainly special. You could run a physical Articuno, although I'm sure its move pool is pretty slim physically, because just looking at it, you're not going to be able to get too much physical moves out of it. So you want to go special where you can. And yes, defense 100 and 125. Pretty high defenses, not amazingly high, but pretty high. So, you know, in terms of base stats, it's not too bad. I mean, it's not fully geared towards defensiveness because it has a fairly high special attack stat, but it can sort of be pretty defensive, but at the same time have some good attack as well, I guess. Ability wise, there is one available, and there's also an unavailable hidden ability. Its basic ability is pressure, as with most legendaries, which means it raises the opposing Pokemon's PP usage. This is a pretty useless ability in most cases, apart from unless you're trying to stall the enemy out. Because Articuno is defensive, you could say, oh yeah, it might work for Articuno there, just got to sort of, you know, be bulky, stall them out and wait till they run out of PP on their strong moves. It doesn't really work that way for Articuno, since it isn't bulky enough, basically. Some Pokemon are that bulky, you can just sit and wait for pressure to, you know, just sort of wipe out their PP. However, Articuno, it's not going to work too well if you do choose to do that. Its hidden ability, which as I said is unavailable at the moment, it could be made available in the future, maybe, possibly, who knows, if it, you know, if Articuno and Zapdos Moltres appear in another movie, maybe they'll give out the hidden ability bird trio, who knows. But this ability is a snow cloak, which boosts its evasion in a hailstorm, which isn't allowed in most sort of competitive battles, so it wouldn't be that useful anyway. But in terms of if you just wanted to use it in Battle Spot, for example, yeah, as long as hail's up, you could certainly use that and just be a bit annoying, basically. So, because it's unavailable, I'm not going to look at any sets using it, although it could be used on basically any set, since, as I said, pressure isn't too good at all, so you may as well swap Snowcloak in if it ever becomes available and is able to be used in competitive play. So, let's look at its typing. Being an ice flying type, it's not the strongest type out there. There are a few weaknesses it has. It resists 2 types only, which are grass and bug. Grass is a fairly common type. Bug, however, isn't as common, so it's sort of a wasted resistance there, I'd say. And it's weak to 4, which are fire, electric, rock and steel. Bearing in mind it's 4 times weak to rock, because ice and flying are both weak to rock. So those are some hefty weaknesses, to be honest. Fire and electric, pretty common. Rock, Stone Edge is pretty common, you know, and steel, with the addition of fairy types, are a bit more common now as well. So really you have to watch out. It has 1 immunity being a flying type, which is the ground type, so at least you can switch on some earthquakes and you know, other moves like that. However, you know, just taking neutral from all the rest, it's not that good type-wise. Only 2 resistances. You have twice as many weaknesses as resistances. You have the immunity, but apart from that, it's not good, okay? You're only going to take lower damage from 3 types out of 18, which isn't good. So from the other 15, you're going to take either increased damage or the same amount of damage you would anyway. So that is that. Moving on to looking at the viable moves for Articuno, it has some good special moves, you know, that it's not terrible, but it's not brilliant either. First up, level up moves, we have level 36 agility. There is going to be an agility set we'll look at later on. Being 85 base speed, it's not the highest, however with agility you can boost this up pretty well and use it to some advantage. Then level 43 we have, or level 43 or TM13, Ice Beam. So, you know, your basic sort of special ice type move, very basic like Flamethrower, nothing too special to say here. It's, you know, a strong, stable move. Then at level 85, or the easier option, TN19, we have Roost, which is going to be your health and restoration method, because obviously we don't get Wish or anything on Articuno. So Roost is going to be what you rely on. Remember, as always, if you use Roost, you lose your flying type for the turn. So you become a pure ice type for that turn. How does that affect the typing? Well, resistances, you wouldn't resist grass or bug. I don't think ice resists either of those. Weaknesses, you would lose your weakness to electric. You would only be 2 times weak to rock. You would lose your immunity to ground, however, not that the enemy is going to use an earthquake predicting you to Roost, basically, but you would gain a weakness to fighting, as well as a resistance to ice, because you've lost the flying type, and that's pretty much it, I think, you know. So generally, losing the flying type is good for you, for that turn for Roost, but there are some downsides to it, so you have to watch out for that. Then level 92, or I think via a heart scale you can use for a bit easier, we have Hurricane. This is a very powerful flying type move. It's one of the only ones it gets, really, and it's definitely one you want to run. It doesn't have 100% accuracy, but it does do a lot of damage if it hits, so you definitely want to go for Hurricane here. Moving on to some TMs now. At TM06 we have Toxic. Being defensive, you can use Toxic, you can run it on Articuno to Toxic up the opponent and then just sort of keep healing up while Toxic slowly takes them down. So it's a very, you know, very valid strategy here. Then at TM10 we have Hidden Power. Obviously, stable special type move. The typing of it is going to depend on your IVs. In terms of what typing you might want for Articuno, looking at your full weaknesses, Fire, Electric, Rock, Steel. Fighting is going to be good against rock and steel, as is ground. Ground is going to be good against them all. So definitely, if you can, go for a hidden power of ground, because that's all 4 of your weaknesses covered basically, as well as a few. You know, well, I mean, I think it's just your weaknesses that are weak to ground there. So, you know, definitely on a hidden power ground if you can. Then we have TM17 Protect, because we're going defensive and we're relying on maybe leftovers as well to give us some health points back. Protect is very viable, very valid. You can just run Protect and then just go Protect, get some leftovers, Roost up, you know, Protect, and just be annoying basically like that. You know, Toxic and then Protect every other turn, Roost at every turn. So you could do that if you wanted to, but maybe not the best strategy. But Protect is, you know, maybe you can use it. Then we have TM90 Substitute. So again, this is another method of just hanging around in the battle, being a bit defensive. Substitute's going to make a sub, and then it's just going to sort of protect you from other attacks. So you can use Substitute. Leftover's going to heal up behind it, as well as Roost as well. So if you get a sub up, maybe they don't kill you on that turn, or don't kill the sub rather. You can then, you know, heal up behind the sub, and you haven't lost any health points at all. And then one final move here, which is via heart scale only, which is Freeze Dry. New move introduced in Generation 6. It's fairly powerful, and it's super effective against water type Pokemon. Pretty darn good, isn't it? So that basically gives you another, you know, effectiveness on one of your stab moves. So Freeze Dry is very valid, very viable. I said that a lot, haven't I? But Freeze Dry can definitely be run. It's not as powerful as Ice Beam from what I can remember. I think it's slightly less powerful, but it does have that, strength against Water-type Pokemon, which might turn the battle in your favour, because who knows what you're going to be faced with. So, all those moves are very viable, so if we move on to look at the competitive sets. So we'll look at two sets here for Articuno. The first one is sort of a defensive set, as I've been talking about, and the second one is sort of more of an agility and then just attacking set almost. So we are going for two, I wouldn't say very different sets, but obviously Articuno isn't fully defensive, it isn't fully attacking, so you may as well sort of mix it up a bit. So the first set we're going to have, moves are going to be Substitute, Roost, Hurricane and Ice Beam or Freeze Dry. Ability is going to be Pressure. Nature here is Timid, held items are Leftovers, and the EVs are putting maximum special attack, maximum speed, and the rest in special defense. So, first up, Substitute. What this is going to do is it's the thing you want to set up as soon as you get in battle, if you have the opportunity. Say you switch in on a Grass type. That thing is weak to both your stabs, so they likely aren't going to stay in unless they've got something put up their sleeve. Obviously it depends on the type, but say you switch in on a Grass type, it's obvious they're going to switch out, so you can say, okay, I'm going to Substitute. You'll Substitute, turn will pass by, they'll switch out and switch whoever in, it could be something stronger than you, whatever. Leftovers is going to get a bit of your health points back. Depending on what comes in, it could either be something that's going to one-hit kill your Substitute, or it could be something that's going to set up on you, for example. Depending on what it is, we could go for, it just depends on what it is really. You could have a Roost up to get all your health points back if you're confident they can take out your sub in one turn, because if they do, and you just Roost, you're back to square one, full health points, and they're just going to attack you next turn. But if they don't kill the Substitute and you Roost up, you're on full health points, you still have a Substitute, so you're going to be able to attack next turn without losing any more health again. So that's a good sort of balance out there. Obviously if you know they're going to take out your Substitute, you can go for Hurricane or Ice Beam or Freeze Dry and then just do damage basically. Whether you want Ice Beam or Freeze Dry is up to you. It's just a sort of a case of, do you want power, just constant power, or do you want effectiveness against water types for a little bit less power? So that's up to you. Hurricane you definitely want there because of your other stab. Ability Pressure, you could run Snow Cloak if it ever becomes available, because it's probably better than Pressure in the end. Timid Nature because we want to be a bit faster with our subs and our Roosts. And obviously we don't need physical attack, so it's going to be lowered there. Leftovers is our held item just because we simply want some health and restoration behind our subs, apart from Roost of course. And the EVs are putting maximum special attack and speed for all the power and all the speed we can get, and then the rest in special defense just to give that a bit of a boost there. Not too much of a boost, just a bit of a boost. Just sort of, I know our special defense is the higher one anyway, but the gap between defense and special defense is too big for sort of the 4 extra points in defense to be boosted up to special defense, so you may as well work on your strengths, is what I'm saying here. I've already sort of gone over sort of how to use the set, but go in, Substitute, and then Roost, and then sort of just keep yourself alive basically, because your defenses aren't hugely great, but they are pretty good. So they're enough to warrant a Substitute, but they're not enough for you to sort of sit there and like, yeah, I can take your moves. You have to be careful basically, and just try and get off damage where you can. And that's how you use that set. Now let's move on to the second set, which is a bit more offensive, so it's a bit more sort of easy going. You don't have to worry too much about when to sub, when to Roost, and when to attack. You can just attack basically. So the moveset is going to be Agility, Ice Beam or Freeze Dry, Hurricane and Hidden Power. Ability again is Pressure. Nature is a modest one. Held item is going to be a Life Orb, and the EVs are going to be maximum special attack, 220 in speed, so not quite maximum speed, and 36 in health points. So, moveset wise, Agility is what you want to use as soon as you get in battle basically. You sort of go in, Agility gives you +2 stages in speed, or 2 times speed actually. So it's going to double your speed. You're going to get technically 170 speed, which is pretty fast. It's going to outspeed most things. So that's going to sort of allow you just to go and just attack when you want, make you faster than most Pokemon, especially in the lower tiers where Articuno is used. Ice Beam or Freeze Dry again is one of your main stabs. It's a choice of power or effectiveness against water types. Hurricane is then your second stab, and then Hidden Power finally. As I said, you want to give a ground just to deal with all your weaknesses, because that is, you're not going to, most of the time you're not going to be able to one-hit kill something that's strong against you with a Hidden Power, just because Hidden Power is a Hidden Power. But you might be able to survive the attack and then Hidden Power again if you're fast enough because of Agility. basically. Ability is Pressure because that's the only one available at the moment. Nature is a modest one, which is going to increase our special attack and lower our speed. With the Agility, we don't have to worry, not lower our speed, lower our physical attack. What I was going to say is we don't need to increase our speed here because of Agility. You know, once Agility has doubled our speed, we don't really need to increase it anymore. It's going to outspeed pretty much everything in the tier. Held item here is a Life Orb, just because we want to go in, Agility, and then Ice Beam, Hurricane, whatever, do all the damage. So that's why Life Orb is there, just to give us as much power as possible. Same with the maximum special attack, EVs. And the reason we haven't got maximum speed here is, again, because we don't need maximum speed because of Agility. We just want to put a bit more health points, just to allow us to be a bit more bulky and survive 1 or 2 more attacks. And just to be allow us, otherwise we're gonna, fail to one-hit kill a Pokemon, and then that's it, because Articuno is just gonna get taken out in 1 hit. How would you use a set? Well, again, it's really a case of switching in on the Pokemon that you think is going to switch out. So a Grass type, you can use Agility, get the speed boost, and then you can Ice Beam or Hurricane or whatever, and make use of that afterwards. Obviously, if you can't switch in on that, just sort of maybe try and go for the Agility. Obviously, you don't have to though. You can just go for the Ice Beam and the Hurricane and get some damage off in the first place. Don't go for the Agility if it's too risky, basically, is what I'm saying. Don't say, oh, I switched in, I must use Agility. Be a bit more conservative about it. Maybe switch in or switch out a couple times, just make sure you're safe to do it. And then, or just switch in and, maybe if they're on like 5% health points, you're not going to just, oh yeah, we're Agility. No, you're going to take them out, please. But yeah, that's how you'd use this set generally. Articuno is a fairly strong Pokemon in the tiers it's in. It's not amazing, but it is fairly strong to be used either in a defensive role or in a semi-offensive role. But that's it for Articuno. As I promised, guys, the mascot episode next week, I'm going to be joined by the one, the only, the Heated Mo, covering not his mascot is Espeon, but we are going to be covering Jirachi. Espeon was covered a while back on DataDex, there is an episode on it already, so sadly we can't cover that with him. But we're covering Jirachi because, as you know, Mo is the hacks god, so we will definitely be covering Jirachi, and looking at some hacksy stuff there. So, if you're hyped for that episode, guys, be sure to hit the like button down below as at the start. Suggest some more people and Pokemon and conductors down below in the comment section that you want to see covered by us. But for now, I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.